Hi everybody, it's Peg, and I have these new stencils from Stencil Girl Products, and I just thought I'd do a little play with them. This is some gesso and some black text weight paper, and I'm just going to create some designs using these stencils. There are all kinds of geometrics. There's circles, squares, hexagons, all kinds of different shapes in this particular grouping from Ann Butler. And I really like the contrast between the black and the white, so I thought, why not? Let's get some of this, because what I intend to do is cut these pieces up and use them for collage. So this one, let's see, it's this. I think this is the circle one, and this time I decided to use the black on some tissue paper, because when you're making components for art, you want to have a variety of pieces, and that's all I'm doing, is I'm just creating components for art. So these little sponges are from Amazon. Chelsea had sent me a few, and I'm liking them. They're okay. So I'm just going to fill this page out with this particular image. And then we will move on and do something different. I really like this one. So I was watching Creations CC, Catherine Coate. She was doing some butterflies, some just random butterflies using watercolor. And Chelsea and I had talked about doing a butterfly journal. So I thought, well, okay, watercolor butterflies. And I'd started these pages the other day to make a journal with. And I got out these Paul Rubin watercolors. They're a kind of pearlized or iridescent watercolor set. And I thought, well, they'd make pretty shimmery butterflies. So let's make some butterflies. So I'm making some small ones and some big ones, and I kind of want them to look like they're circling in the flight pattern. You know how butterflies can get together and form almost like a swarm. And then I get out my Pentel brush pen. Love this pen. It's very fluid, and the ink in it is India ink, so it's permanent when it's dry. And I'm just going to add the bodies of the butterflies here with this Pentel brush. I'm also going to get out my, what is that? It's the multi-ball pen from Pilot, and I'm going to use that to do a little bit of sketching around the butterflies with multi-ball. And that's going to be about all I do on this particular page on this day. I'll let it sit and rest and figure out what I want to do with the rest of the journal. And this is not watercolor paper. This is just some board that was like a chipboard piece. So it's not the best paper for watercolor, but it worked okay, and I'm happy with what I did. So let's see what else we got up our sleeves. So one of the things that CC had done was to decorate the wings with different shapes. She was asking the audience, what kind of shape should I put into this one, and what kind of shape should we put into that one? So I'm using my different pens and making different marks on the wings of these butterflies. I think I did some hearts and some dots and you know, just an assortment of things here. Here I'm getting out the Pentel brush again to make the little hearts. And it helps if you rotate your paper. It just allows you to go in different directions quite easily. And you see, just with a couple of strokes, you've got a little heart. And I think you can get different cartridges for these pens too. So next up is a little bit of gel cleaning, gel plate cleaning, and printing. We were having a discussion in a live the other day about, can you get your gel plate clean? And let me tell you, this was really grungy plate. So I used some alcohol and cleaned all of the grunge off, and then I conditioned it with some baby oil. You can use mineral oil, baby oil, whatever you have on hand to condition your gel plate with. And you can see you can clean them up pretty good, because that one had all kinds of crusty stuff on it. And I put way more oil on there than I needed to. So I'm just going to rub that in, and then I'm going to flip it over and get the other side. You notice I'm taking extra care to clean the edges too. You know, if you take good care of your jelly plate, it will serve you for a very long time. And I've had this plate for quite a while now, several years, and it's still serving a purpose. It is a little bit of stain in the middle, but I don't mind that, as long as I can get most of the other stuff off of it and have it ready for work. So now that it's clean, I'm going to start. We were doing a show on Art Joy Sharing, which was a live show, but YouTube was having some issues that day. So we did not get our full hour and a half show that we normally do videotaped, because YouTube was going down. So I'm just applying different paints with different tools. You know, we're talking about tools, things that we have in our stash that we can use to make art with. So, you know, we've got credit cards, we've got spatulas, we've got ends of paintbrushes and pencils and lids and cups. And so I'm just applying the paint to the gel plate in a random pattern using these different tools that I have to work with. Getting out some old paint that's gotten pretty bad, so I'm deciding not to use that, and I'm going to find some other paints, because, you know, when they get crusty, when you've had them around long enough, it's time to dry them out, recycle them, and get something fresh. So I'm using another lid or cup in another color, turquoise. And I think we're still fiddling with things, but this is a piece that I picked up in a secondhand store. It's just got a nice grid pattern to it, and I thought that would be nice to make marks with. So I'm using that to get a grid mark on there. Then I'm going to add some more colors. This time it's just with a sponge, and this is a hot mat, you know, those silicone mats that you get from places like Walmart, that's just been cut into pieces. I think Cindy Utter sent me this in Happy Mail. And so I'm using it's kind of got a honeycomb weave to it, which I thought was pretty cool. And I'm going to end up printing this, but I set it aside to dry for a while, because this layer I want dry before I add another layer of paint. And then that other layer of paint will pull up what's on the gel plate. So I'm just going to use up some of that leftover paint that I've got out on my palette. Grabbed a journal and just, smushing some of that same paint around and creating a background. So you'll see this background come out again in the end. Now here's my gel plate that has the drying paint on it. It's not quite all the way dry, but I think I'm going to try to pull a print. And the first thing I'm going to do is add a little bit of gold leafing. This is a trick I picked up from Patty Parrish, and I used to use it before we did pulls with packing tape, and I thought it was really beautiful to have that little bit of shimmer in there. So I'm putting a little bit of paint on there. I'm going to grab a couple of pieces of paper and pull those prints. And this is about where our video ended with the live show, just because YouTube was not cooperating. So I end up making some bookmarks out of these on another day, on a Monday, when Shell and I decided to just do a pop-up since we missed our Thursday. And yeah, I just worked on a number of different projects that day. Here they are. And here is the video from the time that we spent on Monday. So I did a little extra paint on there, and then I decided I was going to mount them on some purple paper backer and make tags out of them. And I was just showing some of what was going on in a live class. There's a class being offered, Sketchbook Revival. If you just do a search on that one, it's a free class that's being offered right now, and they're showing a lot of different techniques. I just showed a picture of a elephant drawing that I'd done following Carla Sondheim. She was the first one, I think, to go for the Sketchbook Revival, and then I was showing, a technique that Mary Beth Shaw had shared, and today I did a Quirky Bird, which is the third lesson with Tamara Laporte. So, they're very well-known artists in this free class. And if you're interested, get signed up and start working through it. I'm on day 3. I think we're actually much further along than that. But, I'll work through it as I can. So I'm just putting some Suklang double stick tape on the back of these gel printed papers, and then I'm going to cut them down and punch the edges to put a little decorative edge on the bookmark, and I will color up or colorize some seam binding with some Distress Oxide spray and make a fabric to go into the holes that I'm punching in the tops of these bookmarks. So that was one of the projects I was doing for the live that we were not able to finish. So here you see I'm just getting out those Distress Oxides. I think it's a fossilized amber and the peacock and wild violet maybe. And one of the things I found out about the fossilized amber is that when it dries on this stuff, it is gorgeous. It's got a iridescence to it, almost like you know, the wings of a dragonfly or something like that. I know it doesn't show up very well on video, but I just was fascinated with the fact that this stuff changed. You know, distress oxides typically are very matte, and this stuff was very iridescent. So here I'm pulling out a piece trying to show uh, what that looks like. But I was very happy with that. Okay, so back to my gel print. Um, this paint is mostly dry, and so now I'm going to get some other paint and pull that up. And I'm using a gold and green gold mixture here as the background color. And hopefully it's going to soak into the paper here and I can get it to pull up. I have to work it a little bit more, a little bit more. Sometimes it's like that. Sometimes it depends on the paint or the surface that you're putting it on. But, you know, there I got a print. And I'm not totally unhappy with that. So I just kept on working. Okay, so I continued gel printing. We worked for an hour and a half, and I didn't create a whole lot of stuff. I was just making components for art. A lot of times I like to work ahead like that and just make papers or, uh, you know, embellishments, or, you know, it doesn't have to be a finished project. It can be whatever it is you're being told to make that day. You know, let your muse talk to you and make whatever it is you're being told to make that day. Some things work out really well, some things don't. You know, some of these gel prints that I'm making are a fail today, and I'm okay with that. You know, not everything is going to be wonderful. I also have these stencils. These are Stencil Girl stencils that are in geometric shapes that were sent to me in the mail. And Carol had just sent them to me, and she says, anybody want some stencils to play with? And I said, well, what do you want me to do with them? She said, well, just play and make something and post what you do. So that's what I'm doing, is I'm just playing and making something. So you can see I'm tearing down these pieces of paper because I will use them in collage. I will probably use them in my art journal. And I'm playing with this other stencil. This one happens to be an oval shape, and I'm going to use some neocolors and things like that on there. And I'll cut out the oval, and I'll have another piece that can be used. And I did a lot of black and white prints using these geometric shapes. I just thought they were really interesting. The squares, the triangles, the circles, the ovals, the hexagonal, you know, whatever you want. There's all kinds of shapes that you can use for this process. So if you are interested in joining us live, go over to Art Joy of Sharing. That's usually where we do our live sessions. And click the bell for notifications so that you know when we're on. And you can join us in a live video. And we'd love to see you and love to chat with you. So I'm just going to finish up a few of these projects, and that'll be it for me today. Thanks for stopping by, for your kind comments, for sharing, liking, subscribing, all of those things. And remember, your kindness makes a difference. So I'll see you again next time. Bye, guys.